Good day everyone, this is Cedric once again from Sydney, Australia, and today I'm going to share you about my journey here in Australia, how I got in here, what's my profession, and how do I earn money to sustain this kind of lifestyle here in Australia. So if you want to know these facts, please stay tuned and join me. Here we go. So you know me by name already. I'm Cedric Suarez, and with my name there's already bells and whistles. So I'm from the Philippines, and technically I'm Filipino, and who moved here to Sydney, Australia for greener pasture or for better life or better employment. And I chose Australia because of its proximity to the Philippines, which is really close, and of course employment-wise, they grant you with greater salary compared to the Philippines. As you all know, Philippines is great on producing nurses, but we don't take care of our fellow nurses or our clinical employees. So most of the skilled Filipino nurses go overseas just to work and have a better life. And so that is how I got in here to Australia, and that's my reason why I came here to Australia. Apart from that, Australia is also a beautiful country. As we all know, the landmarks here in Australia, the Opera House here in Sydney, the beautiful Melbourne, and the flora and fauna here around Australia is really beautiful, comparable to tropical countries, but still not too warm. It has diverse culture, which I really like the most, especially here in Sydney, wherein I don't feel like I'm alone, or I don't feel like I'm being secluded out of the community, which is really great. That's how I felt here when I moved to Australia. So now, how did I come here? What sort of process did I get through? Apparently, coming here as a nurse is not quite easy compared to like the UK or the US or other parts of the world, because there is no reciprocity of registration between Philippines and Australia. So when I moved here, I remember it was 2017. I moved here to Melbourne. I started in Melbourne and I studied there for 3 months to bridge my registration and get my Australian registration as a nurse. Before that process, I need to have an agency to sort out everything because I've got no background about the process or the visa relations when it comes to going here to Australia. I have a friend who just referred me to her agency who worked for her. She's now in Canberra, and everything seems to be really smooth. So the agency sorted out all my papers, gave me direction and how I could sort out everything. So I just need to take an English exam to apply for the entrance or my entry to the institute where I'm gonna study. So there you go. So I've got all the process, all the papers. I know it's quite vague. In some other videos that I'm gonna create in the future, I might give full details. However, everything has changed now. So giving you the full details of my process before might just confuse you. However, this is quite vague, but I'm just giving you a glance on how I got in here to Australia. So there you go. I'm going back. So got the agency, sorted out all my papers. The agency paid for everything, but it was a loan. Remember, it was a loan and there is interest. So, you know, as I go further, I need to pay that loan, of course. I'm not gonna disclose the amount, but it was a loan coming here to Australia. I did not spend any single cent coming here to Australia except for all the papers that I have to sort out and submit to them and to the immigration office of Australia. But apart from that, plane ticket, the school, and the accommodation has been paid by the agency. Here you go. So October 2017, I landed here in Melbourne, Australia, and I remember it was springtime. It was still freezing. I can't bear how cold it was. I thought it's gonna be alright because I read on some information from the from the website or from the internet that it's subtropical here in Australia. I didn't realize that Melbourne is freezing and the weather is labile. So sometimes it's raining and then the other in 10-15 minutes it will be sunny again. So it's just the weather is just beyond me. It's just too much for me. So I was just there still contemplating why I'm here, but still I just want to pursue my aims and my dreams here in Australia. So I just resisted the weather and I just keep going. I just kept going and then just pray. That's what I did because of course I'm on my own. I'm just with my classmates whom I haven't known for a while, just on the day or prior to departure. So it's just quite difficult as well. But although there are Filipinos and they speak my native language, it's still a bit of a challenge, of course, having someone who is new to you and going overseas on your own. So it's definitely a good trait for you to get along with other people. So here you go. So again, here is in Melbourne, Australia. And when I was in Melbourne, Australia, I just stayed there for a couple of days because the school where we're gonna study and the placement or the hospital duties that we will grab are away from Melbourne. So it's in Bright, Victoria. It's like 2 to 3 hours of travel. So we just got there through a train and then hopped onto a bus and then someone fetched us or picked up from the bus station. So it was a good adventure as well. I was able to experience the train of Melbourne, their buses. So it's really beautiful. If I've still got the pictures in there, I'm just gonna post it up here or somewhere here on the screen, so you get a little bit of idea on what I've been through there in Melbourne and Victoria. It's really a beautiful city. Apparently they have it's like a touristy place in Melbourne, in Victoria, and Bright has like a beautiful fauna and there are loads of activities that you could do there. So I went there to Victoria, to Bright, Victoria, and we had an accommodation already ready for us. Everything is already set up, the accommodation, our room, the internet, and the school, and the hospital where we're gonna do the placement. So if I could remember, there's like a month of lectures and then 2 months of clinical placement. So we have to do lectures about Australia, history and stuff, getting along, getting to know what Australia is, like cultural wise, their hospital system, their health system of course, and how they do their nursing here in Australia. So of course you've got the foundation already of your knowledge, so it's not that a problem because you've got your registration back home in the Philippines. But of course in a different country they have their own system that you need to follow, their own laws. Very importantly, their own laws on how you will become a nurse here in Australia. So we finished that. We need to do some essays as well. We need to submit it and marked, and we should pass that, and then after that we're gonna do the placement. So first we went to aged care facility. This is in Myrtleford. So we stayed first in Myrtleford, but in my case I went to Bright, Victoria for my hospital placement. At first Myrtleford is just an aged care for me, and then I was just like taking care of like the elderlies there or being taken care of the government. So it's been funded by the government and it's really beautiful. It's a good experience how progressive Australia is, how they take care of their elderlies here. It is amazing, totally unbelievable. It's something that you can't compare back home in the Philippines. However, it's just a bit of a trick as well for me because the English language wise, yes, we could speak the English language. However, their accent there is because it's country is quite strong. So sometimes when you talk to the residents who are Australians, it's quite difficult because they talk so fast, and sometimes you're still getting along with how they pronounce their words, and yet it was really difficult as well because some of them cannot pronounce anymore the words like completely because probably of old age their voice becomes really husky, and it was really difficult for me to understand everything. But I got along with that. I was able to get into it and have a learning process as well. It's a good learning curve for me. It's a great learning curve for me to be able to talk to these residents on and how they're taken care of, see how the process is. And yeah, I learned a lot from there. And then after a few weeks, I went to Bright, Victoria to do my clinical placement in Bright Hospital. So they have like an urgent care there, a ward, and a small theater. So they're doing some sort of scopes and bits. And for their urgent care, there's a nurse there who's taking care of like minor accidents, and of course for big accidents or for big medical issues. There would be doctors as well. They're on-call doctors for after hours and doctors on the day. So they are the one taking care of these medical issues, and if it's really severe or really something that they cannot manage there by their protocols, they just call the ambulance to be picked up, for the patients to be picked up and sent to the nearest base hospital. So on the ward, I was more on the ward, so I was able to take care of some subacute patients. So technically they're like transferred from bigger hospitals or just needing minor care or some minor infections that they need to be treated with antibiotics, that they need to stay in the hospital for intravenous antibiotic treatment. So they go to their veins. So it was just a couple of days there that I was able to see and experience the care that we as nurses provide there, the differences. But yeah, it was really a great experience for me because they are really independent. Like nurses, they are really independent because remember, there are no doctors there 24 hours on the floor. So after hours, they would be on call. They will just come there if you really need help. The nurses there are really well trained to take care and give management and intervene to certain medical issues. They have a book there of protocols and policy that they follow whenever they need to give some medications or do some interventions to the patients. So it's really great because I appreciate how empowered we are here in Australia to do certain actions and interventions independently. So which is really something that I appreciate here as a nurse here in Australia. So yeah, to sum it up, my stay there was like 3 months. So I told you earlier, we did lecture, we did aged care, and then a clinical placement in a hospital. And then after that, you're gonna have like a simple ceremony in a cafe, and then you're gonna get your registration and you're heading back to Melbourne. When you head back to Melbourne, you're gonna part ways, travel around Melbourne, Victoria, and then you're gonna see your family if you got family there. I stayed with my cousin in Melbourne, Victoria, and then after that I have to head back to the Philippines and then just come back to get my registration here to Australia. And there you go, that's my journey in Melbourne. When I moved back to Melbourne, I can't remember if it's January or February because I finished my program from October to January. I have to head home January. Yeah, I think it's February that I moved back to Melbourne to get my registration. I've got everything already sorted. So I head to Sydney because my employment is in Sydney. The moment I got my registration, I got my employment in Sydney. So I have to move to Sydney to sort out my employment. So it was like February, and then I got my working visa in March. I think it's March 2018. So there you go. And then I became a nurse here. I did agency nursing, and that's how I became a professional nurse or a registered nurse here in Australia. And after that, I was able to sort out my life here, and as a registered nurse, I think everything seems to be smoothly, and I was able to pursue my worthy aims here. I was able to sort out my finances and become financially stable at the end of the day. And now I'm here in Sydney, Australia, still working as a casual staff and some part-time work, but I'm living my life here to the fullest because the pay grade here is really good, that your experience and your specialty or your specialization, especially like for people who work in special fields or, you know, like acute care or critical care or in theater, they're really well paid here. Although there's not much change when you work in the ward or in ICU or critical care, or difference rather, but you're still paid well here in Australia. They pay you hourly and they credit all your experience, and then when you have your experience with you, they will pay you accordingly. So I really love their system here when it comes to taking care of nurses, because they really value your profession here, especially now that we have a global pandemic. They really appreciate the profession, and they even give us like incentives because we are working together with the government in order for us to provide the best care to our patients. Even though here in Australia it's really good management of COVID, there's not much community transmission, we still work really hard to do that and to claim that position on a global scale. So we're really good in managing COVID outbreaks here in Australia. People are really good with following government orders. That's why we were able to capture most of the community transmission here and lessen the risk of spreading and having a community outbreak. So there you go. So that's a glance of how I came here to Australia. That's a bit of a sneak peek on about my profession here and how I became a professional nurse. So I hope I gave you a little bit of information, even though it's quite vague, because I can't give you any details at this point, because I just want to give you an outlook on how I became a nurse here, and like being a nurse, what could I do here like professionally, and then how they pay me. That pay grade is depending on your skills. So yeah, so that's why after 3 years of staying here in Australia, I was able to become financially responsible as well with myself, with my family, and now everything is paying off. I have enough savings. I was able to share to my family, to some of my friends, and now I was able to splurge a little bit of luxury to myself, just to gratify my hard work. So I got everything here. That's why I'm doing unboxing videos for you as well, to inspire everyone to work hard. Everything will eventually fall into places. As long as we work hard, we put all our efforts and our hearts to what we're doing, we will eventually get into our dreams and pursue whatever we want to do. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this video as a uplifting vlog on whatever your profession is or whatever you want to pursue in life. This is just to inspire everyone, and I hope you like this. I love sharing this because I've been through a lot as well. I've been from my lowest point. I hit rock bottom. I nearly got into debt, got no money in my pocket, just like perseverance and hard work. That's all I had, and my family support, and of course God, our creator. Whenever I'm really down, I just pray and ask for wisdom, and after that I feel relieved and I was able to, you know, go back into the game. So everything will fall into places. Remember that. and we just need to hope and have faith. So here you go. So if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe and press the notification bell down below for my next videos. Thank you very much, mates, and have a great day. Bye bye!